The studio lights beamed, too bright, almost blinding. Or maybe, just maybe, it was Whoopi Goldberg's expression. A mix of exasperation and that signature righteousness as she shifted in her chair. Across from her, Joy Behar smirked, tilting her head ever so slightly, eyes glinting with that unmistakable satisfaction. She was about to drop what she believed to be an undeniable truth. You know what's funny? Joy began, leaning in with the calculated slowness of a seasoned television pro. These Republicans, they love their conspiracy theories. And yet, Whoopi, remind me, she paused for effect. Who's actually been wrong about everything these past few years? Whoopi gave an exaggerated shrug, her face a perfect display of theatrical disbelief. Oh, let me think. Oh, wait. Them, she quipped, voice dripping with sarcasm. The audience chuckled on cue. The energy in the studio crackled, the kind of self-assured momentum The View had mastered. This was their turf, their narrative.
And today?
Today was just another episode of them setting their record straight. Except, across the city, Caroline Leavitt was watching. She wasn't seated at that round table, but she might as well have been. Because in that very moment, she sat before a massive screen in her office, eyes locked onto Whoopi and Joy as they played their predictable hand. Her fingers drummed against the desk, slow at first, then faster. She had anticipated this. She knew they wouldn't be able to help themselves. What she hadn't expected was how blatant, how utterly shameless they'd be about it. And yet, as she watched them bask in their own self-righteousness, she almost laughed. They had no idea that within hours, the narrative they thought they controlled would slip from their grasp. That the carefully crafted illusion of their influence over public perception was about to shatter. Because Caroline had already made her move. And the best part? She hadn't even set foot in their studio to do it. The muted hum of the television filled the room, interrupted only by the occasional burst of laughter from the audience. Caroline sat motionless, eyes narrowed, watching Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Hostin tear into her like a pack of hyenas in a feeding frenzy. Whoopi, as always, threw the first punch. Caroline Leavitt, she scoffed, voice dripping with theatrical outrage.
Please.
Another conservative Barbie who thinks she's making history. Joy Behar leaned in, delighted. You know, she mused, if I had $1 for every time one of these right-wingers claimed they were being attacked. Oh wait, I do.
She grinned.
It's called my paycheck. The audience erupted. Then Sunny Hostin, the lawyer, the strategist, delivered the final stab. She's not here to debate, she said coolly. Because she can't. They never have real arguments. Just outrage. A knowing glance. It's always them against the big, bad media. When really, they just can't handle the truth.
Click.
Caroline grabbed the remote and shut off the TV. The silence was thick. Electric. Her fingers curled around the handle of her coffee cup. She lifted it, then set it down hard. Not enough to break, but enough to send a clear, ringing clink through the room. All right, she exhaled, voice steady, but edged with something unmistakable. Let's get to work. Across the table, her communications director, Matt, adjusted his glasses. So, we're going with the controlled approach? Caroline raised an eyebrow. Matt sighed. Got it. Nuclear. She stood, pacing the length of the room, her mind already assembling the perfect response. They think they own the narrative, she muttered, mostly to herself. They think if they say it loud enough, often enough, people will just buy it. She turned back to her team. They have no idea what's coming. Matt chuckled, shaking his head. You do know ABC execs are probably sweating bullets right now, right? Trying to figure out how to walk this back before you fire off whatever you're planning. Oh, they're panicking, Caroline agreed. And they should be. She grabbed her phone, scrolling through the headlines already emerging. Leavitt under fire on The View. ABC faces backlash after heated segment. She smirked. Oh, they think that was heated? She sat back down, crossing one leg over the other, that glint in her eyes unmistakable. By the time I'm done? A pause. A slow, knowing smile. They'll be wishing they never said my name. Matt let out a low whistle. This is gonna be fun to watch. Caroline took a sip of her coffee, grip steady. No, she corrected, voice calm. Lethal. This is going to be historical. And with that, she got to work. The View doesn't want strong women. Caroline let the words settle, her gaze steady. They want obedient women. A pause. And I refuse to play their game. The camera was rolling. Caroline sat upright, composed, controlled, but beneath the surface, there was an unmistakable fire. A quiet, deliberate intensity in her eyes. This wasn't just a response anymore. This was a reckoning. Her voice was even, but razor-sharp. For years, they've pushed the same rhetoric, the same dangerous narrative. She didn't flinch. The one that led to not one, but two assassination attempts on President Trump. A brief pause. A subtle tilt of the head. They call him a threat to democracy, over and over again. And if you're a deranged lunatic, if you're mentally unstable, a beat, you'll believe that lie. Silence.
Thick.
Heavy. Caroline let the weight of her words hang in the air before continuing, her tone unwavering. Twice now. Twice, we've seen this happen. And yet, they refuse to take responsibility. They refuse to acknowledge that the very fear-mongering they engage in is fueling real-world violence. The screen cut to footage from just last week, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris standing on stage, shaking their heads in performative disgust. The people who showed up to President Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden. Walz began. And then, static. The segment was cut. A sudden transition to commercial. Back in her studio, Caroline exhaled, her fingers tapping lightly against the desk. She murmured, almost to herself, and that is how you know you're right on target. The moment her video hit the internet, the reaction was